Keynote Phillips Armstrong Jr. is the founder and CEO of Destination Hospitality Group, which comprises some of Colorado's most beloved and acclaimed resort market restaurants, including Arum Food and Wine Steamboat, Arum Breckenridge, Arum Aspen Snowmass, Table 79 Food Bar, The Periodic Table, and in June of 2022, the opening of the Carlin, the company's first soiree into hotel operations. These establishments have been featured in Condé Nast, Outdoor Magazine, Ski Magazine, and 52 Magazine, to name but a few. Under Phil's leadership, Destination Hospitality Restaurant Group is renowned not only for its acclaimed restaurants, but also for its unique and treasured culture of putting its people first. With over 25 years of industry experience, he will share the magical moments of how genuine human connection and true hospitality is not confined to restaurants or hotels, but in every human interaction. Phillips' message will expand on the powerful force of true customer hospitality and how, now more than ever, the world needs the warmth and authenticity that hospitality brings. Sounds like a human-scale university. We're glad to have you here. Please help me welcome and keynote speaker, Phillips Armstrong Jr.
Thank you. Hi, how's everybody doing? Good, good. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm so impressed with Grand Junction. It's been a long time since I've been here, and I got to tell you, you should have chose Robin to give this speech because she is the most hospitable person I've met in years. She's really wonderful. Thank you so much for such an amazing first day, and it's been really fun to get to know the community or reintroduce myself to the community. Typically, when preparing for these things, you know, I'll sit and think, okay, what's the first joke? What's the first, let's break the room. Let's find out what's going to calm people down or calm me down. And I always leave space the day of for if something happens to me the day of that I find particularly inspiring, that I'm like, I don't know, I'm just going to forget everything I was going to open with, and I'm going to lead with this. So I walked downstairs this morning in the Hotel Maverick, and I thought, I got my earphones in, I'm kind of jamming, trying to pump myself up, and I don't do a lot of public speaking, if you didn't imagine this. And this young lady walked up to me, and she said, I turned down my headphones, and she said, would you like a positive quote? And I said, sure. And she put out a fishbowl, and I picked out the positive quote. And let me just foreshadow this with, I had a really rough morning. If anybody operates a business in a seasonal market, it's a tough time to operate a business in a seasonal market right now. So I woke up to a few bad emails, and she gave me this quote, and it says, you can't let your failures define you. You have to let your failure teach you. And I just, melted. I thought, oh my God, this is the most timely, perfect quote I've ever received in my entire life. And what a perfect picture of hospitality, the first thing this morning. So I just wanted to share that with you. I don't know who that woman was, but she should get a gold star for the day. So let's get started. On January, I think 23rd, 2024, I got an email from our regional VP of operations. Her name's Jenny Knickerbocker. Jenny, stand up real quick. This is Jenny. Jenny's a CMU grad, and Jenny's the reason that I'm here, actually. Jenny sent me this email. Let's take a look. Forward Entrepreneurship Day from Jenny Knickerbocker to me. The body says, you obviously can't say no to this, right? So you think Jenny Knickerbocker, she's the regional VP of operations for your group. She's an incredibly valued employee. Obviously, whatever is below this is an automatic yes, right? You don't even think about it. You just respond, yes, absolutely. Well, I do know Jenny Knickerbocker. I know her very well, and I will tell you that there is absolutely no way that I was taking a risk on what could have been below that email. So I scroll down, and I find the invitation to this event. you can imagine my surprise, because I don't do a lot of public speaking events, and I was humbled, honored, excited, surprised. So I'm reading this, and I'm pumped. I'm really jazzed. I call my family. I'm excited. So that was January 23rd. Fast forward to April 23rd, just a few weeks ago. I'm sitting in a small cottage in upcountry Maui, and I'm staring at my laptop thinking, you have to write this speech. You have to finally put down on paper what you are going to try to communicate to a community of students, business owners, etc. And if you can picture in the 6 months in between that time, me feverishly on Netflix, show me the best public speaking. TED Talks, show me the most impressionable public speaking events ever. I consumed hundreds and hundreds of hours of public speaking. And in my mind, I was going to deliver the most mind-altering, emotionally bending, Martin Luther King type speech you've ever heard in your entire life. And as I stand before you right now, I'm thinking, if in the next 30 minutes nobody falls asleep, it'll be a win, right? So my expectations have been slightly adjusted. But no, I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so humbled that you asked me to speak to you. I'm also very excited. I think we're going to have some fun today. I think we're going to laugh a little. Hopefully, we talk about a few tough subjects that have to do with hospitality. And at the end of the day, my goal is really that hopefully we learn a little bit from one another. Sound good? All right. Let's get started. Quick survey. How many people in the room would say that you love people? You're a people person. Yeah? Students specifically, I'm looking at you. All right. For those of you that did raise your hand, congratulations. Your propensity for being successful in hospitality just went up probably, I'm going to say 50%, a solid 50%. How many people in the room, okay, business owners as well, would say that you're not exactly a people person? You're a little introverted, a little quiet. All right. I'd like to also congratulate you because your propensity for being a successful entrepreneur just went up about 50%. How many people in the room woke up this morning saying, I would love to be a hospitality entrepreneur? Nobody. Wait. Oh, hey, Destination Hospitality people, and Josh. Congratulations. You've just signed up for probably one of the most fulfilling career paths you could ever imagine. Conversely, you've also signed up for a lifetime of ass kicking. So get on board. Hospitality is hard. I think anybody in hospitality could speak to that. And let me just give you an example. If you ever want to immediately stop a conversation, tell someone that you work in a restaurant. It's typically, hey, what do you do? Oh, I bus tables. Oh, I'm sorry. I use that all the time when I'm on the plane and I don't want to talk to anybody. What do you do? I bus tables. They're like, oh. It's a quick way to end a conversation because everyone knows working in restaurants is hard. And let's be honest, working in restaurants or hospitality in general, you give up your nights, your weekends, your holidays, your special occasions. And for who? Not generally family members, but for perfect strangers. You make this sacrifice for people that you don't know. I remember the first night that I opened our original restaurant, 2014, actually coming up on our 10-year anniversary in a couple days. I was much busier than I thought. Overall, it was a very successful night. The place was buzzing. I was nervous, but we were packed. And after the night had ended, the bar crowd sort of kicked up. I was in the back in the kitchen, and I remember hearing a glass break. I instinctively grabbed this dustpan and broom. I run out to the bar. Everybody's having a great time. And there I am, my first night, opening my first restaurant. And I'm sweeping up this broken glass. And at that very moment, I think, I have arrived. You know, like, this is it. this is my dream. And so, I just want to paint that picture because hospitality is hard, but it can also be extremely rewarding. Being a successful entrepreneur is hard. I think there's lots of successful entrepreneurs in this room, and I think you would agree that being a successful entrepreneur is very difficult. You have to be willing to fail. You have to not know when, or not a matter of if, but when you're going to fail. You have to make sure that you're paying attention to your market, you're always aware of what's going on, you're really tuned into your business. It's not easy. I remember the first couple months we were open, I got a review. I used to wake up in the morning literally and reach for my phone and read the reviews, which I don't recommend for anybody who's in the hospitality business. But I used to do it incessantly. And this one particular review was very scathing. We were about 3 months in. It basically said your food was crap, your hospitality was crap, everything was crap. And at the bottom, I'll never forget this, the line said, "I doubt you will be open in a year from now." And that was pretty crushing to me. And I remember printing that review, and I put it up next to my desk in my office. And for 365 days, I looked at that review, and I reminded myself of how hard I wanted to work to make sure that that business was successful. And in 365 days, I sat down at my computer, and I had the guy's email because he made a reservation. I wrote back, "Dear sir, I apologize it's taken me so long to get back to you, but I wanted to let you know we take your review very seriously." And, on from there. But I don't look at those reviews anymore nearly as much. But, listen, being in hospitality and being an entrepreneur is not all doom and gloom. I just wanted to make sure that I kind of laid the groundwork to let you know that it is a difficult path. But listen to me when I say this. If you hear anything that I say today, please underscore this. People that avoid pressure avoid being great. I'm going to say it again. People that avoid pressure avoid being great. So don't be afraid to lean in to the path. Okay, what does it take to be a successful entrepreneur? I suppose that's why you asked me here. So I'm going to tell you not what a book says, not what I've read, but what I think it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. Oops. I'm out of juice. There we go. Look at that guy. That guy's my dad. He's a retired teacher. He's now a politician. We won't get into that part of the conversation, but he's a politician. He was a bus driver. He was a basketball coach. My dad worked his butt off. I remember that he was just such a hustler when I was a kid, and I had so much respect for that. My dad taught me exactly what it meant to have a work ethic. Work ethic is the first point that I think is critical to be a successful entrepreneur. I remember when my dad would get home from late night bus trips, not super late, because obviously I was like 5 or 6, so it couldn't have been that late, but we were in the backyard, and my dad used to hand me a mitt, and he would throw pop flies. Does anybody know what a pop fly is, right? Throw it up. And I was like 5 years old, and I'd have the mitt, and my dad would yell, "Dirt bike!" And I would get really nervous, and the ball would fall and hit me in the face or something. And I would gather myself together, and he would do it again, and he would say something like, "BMX bike!" And again, inevitably, I wasn't very coordinated at the time. The ball would hit me in the face, and I never did catch that ball. But I do believe that had I caught that ball, that my dad would have hypothetically rewarded me with whatever he was yelling at the time. I never tested that theory, but I believe that to be true. We also had a thing in high school where every single night after dinner, we played ping pong. Every night without fail, I think every night of my high school career, my dad and I played ping pong. I never won a single game of ping pong out of thousands of games until one night I was winning. It must have been like 21-18 or 20-18. I was about to win, and I was so confident and so excited. And my dad looks at me on the match point, and he goes, "I've been playing left-handed." And I was like, oh. He switches hands and delivers another crushing blow. The point of me telling those two stories are that my dad taught me that I had to work for what I wanted, Nothing in life was going to be handed to me. And I think that was an incredibly valuable lesson, and I keep that with me pretty much every day. Second point of being a successful entrepreneur, if I can get to the next slide, is a willingness to take risks. Everybody in this room knows, I see a lot of people shaking their heads. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be willing to take risks. I want to tell you a quick story that should have indicated to me when I was younger that I was absolutely willing to take risks. In college, I dated a girl named Tori. I hope nobody knows her. She is actually from Colorado. Tori was special. She would hand out flowers to people on campuses because they were smiling. I'm from the East Coast. I never met a girl that handed out flowers to people that were smiling, and I was intrigued. We dated, we fell in love, yada, yada, yada. The end of college, she decides to go to Alaska with a good friend of mine. That ends very badly, and I move on with my life, or at least I thought. So fast forward 5 years later, I'm dating another girl. We're living together in Vail, Colorado. I've got this great job. I'm the first general manager of the Kelly Lycan restaurant, which I don't know if you've ever been to, but at the time, it was a really, really great restaurant. I had no business being the general manager of this restaurant. I got fired. I came home, and I told my girlfriend at the time, I said, hey, I got fired. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know how we're going to pay rent. We're in big trouble. She walks into the bedroom. She walks out with these shoes, and she goes, what do you think of these? I lost my mind. I went absolutely livid. I went into the bedroom. I shoved a bunch of dirty clothes in a backpack. I got in the car. I stopped at a gas station. I bought a pack of cigarettes. I didn't smoke, but I bought a pack of cigarettes. I drove to Denver, and I got very drunk, very, very drunk at a bar. At the moment, my idea was, where is Tori? I wonder where Tori is. I think I thought that she was in South Korea. And I thought, I'm pretty close to the airport. I'm going to get in my car, drive, which I should not have done, clearly. I get to the airport. I buy a ticket to Seoul, South Korea with my father's credit card, which I had as a backup in case anything was needed. This was needed. I get on the flight. It's a long flight. I don't know if you've ever flown to South Korea, but it takes a long time. I'm sobering up on the flight thinking, what in the hell have you just done? I land in South Korea. I have Tori's number, luckily. She picks up the phone, and I say, hi. We haven't talked in a really long time, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but I'm in Seoul, South Korea. I'd love to come see you. She was like, you're insane. What are you doing? So she gave me directions to her house. It was like a cab, a train, a bus, whatever. I finally get there. The first night we go out, it's benign enough. Hey, how's your family? How are you? Why the hell are you in Seoul, South Korea? I go on. It's really not intense. The second night, I take her out to a dinner. Again, my dad's credit card. Hopefully it's going to clear. And I'm sitting across the table from her, and I look into her eyes, and I rehearse this profession of my love that I've been thinking about for years. And I can't tell you how much this moment meant to me. And she starts crying. And she looks back at me, and she says, I don't know one woman, one person in the entire world that would see what you've done and hear what you've just said and not want to spend the rest of their life with you. But I'm just not that woman. This is totally true, no embellishment. I stand up from the table, I walk into the bathroom, I splash cold water on my face, and the reality of the situation is just sort of flooding through. And I could go on for the rest of the story, but really it just didn't end well. I spent the next few days wandering around Seoul, flew home. My parents were wondering why I put all the money on their credit card. The girl that I lived with had no idea where I went. That didn't end well either. The bottom line is, I couldn't have moved on with my life in a professional setting or in any personal relationship had I not taken that risk. It would have haunted me forever if I hadn't hung it all out to know what the end result was. Since then, I think anybody on my team could tell you, I am a serial risk taker. I'm moving my entire family to Maui in 4 weeks because we're opening a restaurant there. I'm selling my house in Steamboat. It's insane. Yes, these are things that I do. Sometimes they pay off, often they don't. Willingness to take risks is a prerequisite for being a successful entrepreneur. The third, the last for entrepreneurship, is ambition. In 2010, somebody wrote this article about me. It says, earlier this year, Phil Armstrong, a veteran restaurant industry guy who has more ambition than the entire graduating class of Harvard, unleashed Hush. He's not wrong. I have a lot of ambition. I did then, I do now. I don't often hear the word no and stop. I hear the word no and sort of get revved up. It's a problem. But I was talking to some students at the community college, CMU Tech, this morning, and I was telling them that mentorship is so important in entrepreneurship. To speak to the ambition piece, does anybody know the name Danny Meyer? He's sort of the deity, I know Josh does. Danny Meyer is sort of the deity of the restaurant industry. He's the head and founder of Shake Shack and Union Square Hospitality Group. I emailed Danny saying, hey, I'd love to take you to lunch. And again, CEOs like that don't generally get that question, but I built my career on writing emails and calling CEOs and taking them to lunch. It's been the most successful vehicle for my career ever, and I think it speaks to this ambitious nature in that I want to learn what's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you. And it's been one of the best things I've ever done is just, again, getting to know CEOs, getting to know what works and what doesn't work. So I highly recommend the mentorship and the ambition. Okay. What does it take to be successful in hospitality? That's my mom. She's a saint. My mom taught me everything that I need to know about hospitality before I went to school, before I took any classes, before I read any books. My mom would do anything for anyone. She puts everyone before herself, sometimes to a fault. But I credit her with the first characteristic I believe it takes to be successful in hospitality is empathy. Empathy is so important. Can anybody tell me what's the most frequent question you get asked when you walk into a restaurant? The first question. Where's the Todd father? He's here somewhere. Todd father, what's the first question you usually get asked when you get into a restaurant? Typically, yeah, for you, I know, yeah. Typically when I walk into a restaurant, the first question I get greeted with is, hi, do you have a reservation? For me, that's like nails on a chalkboard, right? It's the worst thing you could ever hear. Imagine this. You're a family. You're a dad. You live in New York City. You wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You get your little kids dressed. You get them packed. You get their ski gear in the car. You get to the airport. You're at JFK. There's trouble parking. You're struggling to get to the gate. You finally get your family. You just make the flight, but you find out your gates got changed. So you run to the next gate. You get on the plane. You're headed to Steamboat Springs. You get to Steamboat Springs. It's snowing. You're not used to driving in the snow, so you rent a large car because you're from New York, and you do that. You drive to town in the snow. You check into the hotel. You get your family organized. They're getting changed. You unpack your suitcase. You realize you forgot underwear. So now you get your whole family into the car for a reservation that you made 6 months ago. You drive to the restaurant. It's icy. You're annoyed. Your kids are hungry, and they're angry. You drop your family off because you can't find parking. You go, you park 2 blocks away. You're walking to the restaurant. You're cold because you don't have any underwear on. You walk through the door. Your family's waiting there, and the hostess says, do you have a reservation? Instead of giving you a gold medal, an award, hell, like a badge of honor for surviving the day, you get a question of, do you have a reservation? And it's just horrible. And so at Destination Hospitality, we really try to train our staff to understand people's circumstance, understand why they're celebrating with us, why they're here, why they're spending their time with us, which is a precious, non-renewable resource, is time. And so I think it's really important to have that empathetic feeling. No matter what you do in hospitality, it's critically important. Make a human connection. I heard you talk about that earlier. Make a human connection. It's so, so important. These days, everyone is in their phones, right? They're in their phones, and we live in this digital world. It's like, I mean, hi, how's it going? How are you?
I'm well.
You're well. This is a bit awkward, right?
It is.
It shouldn't be, though, right? It shouldn't be. In today's world, this is awkward because we're so used to just living in our digital world that when you have a human connection, it feels awkward. And I think that that's something wrong with our society. I think we need more social, less media. I think that's exactly what we need right now. And it's just so prevalent that we're living in this digital world that we never make a human connection. That woman that handed me this little quote this morning, it changed the course of my entire day. It was that one personal interaction that really changed the path. And I think that that is insanely important in hospitality. It's what we need to do more often. The last point is willingness to throw a party. Everybody likes to throw a party. I know that Robin likes to throw a party. I know that the Todd father likes to throw a party. I learned this yesterday. I love that guy, by the way. The willingness to throw a party. Here's the thing. In hospitality, we welcome people into our space every night. The lights go down, the curtain goes up, and we put on a show. We're throwing a party. We're creating experiences for people. But here's the catch. Students, listen to this, especially if you're interested in hospitality. You're not the lead actor in that show. You're always, always going to play the supporting role. You're throwing a party nightly for someone else. And it's so important that they have fun at their party. So please keep in mind that hospitality, while it feels, a certain way, you're not the star of the show, right? If you're having a bad day, I'm sorry, no one cares. You don't get to have a bad day in hospitality. You have to show up every day in and day out, and you have to be there to throw the party for other people. I think that's really a critical path. So to wrap this up, Destination Hospitality is a company that's been around for about 10 years. I hope we're around for the next 150 years. I heard this gentleman this morning tell me he has a fourth generation company, and that just really touched me. I would love to pass that along to my daughter someday. Has anyone ever heard the saying, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey? You guys heard that saying? I respectfully, completely disagree. I think it's about this destination, and then the next destination, and then the next destination after that. I think that students, please live 9 lives. Talk to strangers. Be humble. Listen. Don't be afraid to fail. These are all really important things as we go through this journey. And right now, I just think it's a time where the world needs hospitality more than it ever has needed it before. And if all of us can make a point in any of our businesses or even any of our classes or any of our daily interactions to put hospitality as a priority, I think that we can not only improve the businesses that you own or the businesses that you hope to own, but overall, we can improve the human experience. Thank you.